I were to like team up with these guys and throw a bunch of my savings at it. Oh yeah. And we would get a bigger building. We moved their bridge into the bigger building because they were a very small building. And we build all the rest of it. The corridor, the transporter room, sick bay, briefing room, captain's quarters, Jeffrey's too, all of it. So that's what we did. And 2 years ago, right about 2 years ago, we shot our first episode. I cast a whole bunch of friends of mine that were actors. One of the biggest things that I noticed about fan series was always that the acting wasn't very good. You know, and I know you've seen some of that. And it's usually because they're fans first, which is fine. But when I would watch these other Star Trek productions, I would think, man, this could be better, and that could be improved, and if this could be better, and if this could be made better. And so I set out to do that. I set out to make the lighting exactly like it was in the original series. And the stories, something deep, theme, and a moral of the story. Ethical questions and moral dilemmas and social issues. Things that made the original series endearing and long-lasting, even now 50 years later. And then I thought, you know, I'm going to get some good actors. So I started casting friends of mine like Chuck Huber, who's here with me this weekend, to play Dr. McCoy. And my dear Mr. Spock, played by my little baby brother, Todd Abercorn. And Grant Imahara from Mythbusters, playing Sulu. And a whole bunch of just great people. Who in here can tell me who played Scotty in the original series of Star Trek? James Dewitt was the man's name. The original Scotty. Yes. His son, Chris Dewitt, plays Scotty. His son. How cool is that? He walked onto the bridge the first time. When we shot the first episode in the uniform, same uniform as his father wore. Not the same, but the red, braid, everything. And he walked on there and he just stood there and was almost overwhelmed, thinking this is what my dad looked at and what he experienced for 3 years of his life. So we made our first episode, and it went wonderfully well. It was called Pilgrim of Eternity. It was actually a sequel to the original series episode. All these episodes are online, by the way. They're all free to watch, and I would love for you to go if you enjoy this one, and I'm hoping and planning that you will. And if so, go home tonight, make some popcorn, and watch episode 1 and episode 3. But we're going to show episode 2. Because even though episode 3 was really great, a lot of people really like episode 2 the most. It's got a great story, great theme, and our guest star for this episode was none other than the Incredible Hulk himself, Lou Ferrigno, from the original Hulk TV series. And when he shows up, you can't miss him. I was going to say, I'll give you one guess who he's playing, but you won't need one guess. You'll get it immediately. So let's do, it's right at, it's about 50 minutes, 45, it's a full episode. So we're going to kill the lights, we're going to crank the sound up, and then we'll chat a little bit on the other side of the screening, and I'll answer some questions about things you may have seen that you have questions about. And off we go. We good? Thank you guys so much.
Oh my gosh, I'm such a big nerd. Okay, we only probably have just a couple of minutes, so I want to take a few quick questions if anybody has any about this. And now you're going to go home and watch the other ones, right? Yeah. Yes.
What did you film it on?
We shot it on a Sony F3 digital camera. Beautiful camera. And then, of course, we do a lot of things to it to make it look as much like the original as possible. One thing, the first thing you probably noticed was that it's not in the same aspect ratio as your television. Yes. Back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and 90s, the aspect ratio of television was 4:3. Now it's 16:9. So we decided that, you know, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. And we're going to, I'm just trying to turn that on. Do you hold it to turn it on? And we decided that even though we shot it in 16:9 because the camera shoots in that shape, we had a mat over top of the image so we would see what was in the 4:3 area, and we framed, when we shot it, we framed it for 4:3. And then, of course, after we edited the whole thing, we color corrected, we pour all that wonderful color and rich saturation into it, and we even added film grain to make it look even more like the original. Yes?
What was it like to play the amazing character?
Oh my gosh. You know what? Can I be honest? Can I just you know I love you when I tell you my deepest personal things. I'm sitting here, and you know what? I know every freaking frame of this thing.
Yeah.
Do you know how well I know this? I mean, you can't even conceive of how well I know this. I wrote the story with my friend, and then helped write the script, and then oversaw everything, cast it, was there acting, helping people, getting performances. Then I took all the footage and I edited it. So I'm sitting there cutting every frame, you know what I mean? And then I chose the music. And if I couldn't find the music I liked, I made the music, composed it, produced it, then mixed it. I mean, I know this so well. And still, I sit here and I tear up. Because I'm like, oh my God, that's me. That's me playing Captain Kirk. I still get, I get jazzed and really overwhelmed that I've been able to do literally a childhood dream. Literally a childhood dream. And over the last few years, I've actually become friends with Bill Shatner, with William Shatner. And I don't talk to him about Star Trek because I want him to like me. I mean, he spent 50 years being set upon by fans, and so I thought, well, I want him to see me as another guy who's signing autographs at the convention with him, not a crazy, obsessed fan. So I never talked to him about Star Trek, and we've become good friends. In fact, in less than a month, he and I are both flying to Dubai for the Middle East Film and Comic-Con. And we're flying over together, and he's captive for 15 hours on a plane with me. So I'm thinking maybe the time might be right to say, hey Bill, I'll give you $1,000 if you watch this disc. Because he inspired me. This show, and he in particular, inspired me. I wanted to start acting because I watched this show and I thought, wow, the drama and the emotions that you can communicate. And that's why I started acting in middle school. It was because I fell in love with Star Trek, and Kirk in particular. And my parents divorced when I was 9, and my dad wasn't around, and Captain Kirk became this this father figure, this role model to me, and somebody that I admired and looked up to. He was brave and strong, and cared for his friends, and had these people that he loved, and so to get to do this is a real dream come true. Yes.
More of a comment than a question, but a couple of years ago, I had this idea to do a cosplay for an Orion slave girl, and that kind of lost momentum. But because of this, now I've got a reason to cosplay Lolani. So
I
thank you
would
for
be
that.
honored, and I know that our dear Fiona, who played Lolani, would love that. Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
My makeup department absolutely hated me. At the end of this episode, they're like, we will freaking kill you if you write another story with somebody who we have to paint head to toe. Do you know what time Lolani's makeup call was every morning?
6.
4 a.m. They had her there at the studio between 4 and 5 a.m. because it took literally 5 hours to paint her. Now you're thinking, well, how could it possibly take that long? You take some spray paint, you're done, right? Or you brush it on, you're done. No. Number one, it has to look even. It has to look like skin tone. It can't be blotchy. So you have to do more than one layer. And there are certain types of paint that you have to use. Because if you use the wrong kind, it comes off on my uniform when she touches me. It comes off on the walls when she bumps up against them. It comes off on the sick bay beds when she's sitting on them. It had to be a certain kind of thing that basically it's almost like a glue. And it creates a coating. And that's the good news, is that it doesn't rub off on stuff. The bad news is you can't get it off. And poor Lolani and Lou Ferrigno, they had to be scrubbed every day to get this stuff off. In fact, we talked about maybe they should just sleep in it. Just, to save time and trouble. They didn't do that, but it was really difficult. And then you add on top of that Spock's makeup, which every day took at least, I think he takes at least 2 hours, an hour and a half to 2 hours, with the hair and then the ears and the eyebrows, all of it. So this was a very intensive makeup episode. And I promised them we won't be doing any colored people for a while. Yes? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, do you get any word, Gene Roddenberry's family, things, you get a blessing about it,
Oh yes. Gene Roddenberry's son, Rod, his name is actually Eugene Roddenberry, Gene's son, but he goes by the name Rod. He saw this and he said, he and I have become friends. I've been a guest on his show and I've been out to his house, and he saw Lolani and he said to me, I really think I can speak for my dad when I say he would consider this canon. Wow. He said this is comparable to an original series episode, better than some even of the original series episodes. And you can imagine, I was floored by that, so honored. And then when episode 3 came out, Fairest of Them All, which I hope you guys will check out tonight, which a lot of people like even better than this one. It's much more action oriented, but it just got better. And he was like, I didn't think you could top Lolani, but just wow. The one we're about to release is going to be very powerful. And then we've already got episode 5 shot as well. So a lot of exciting stuff happening. Yes?
How long does it take to shoot these?
I'm very proud to tell you, okay, back in the 60s, or with any weekly television show, they shoot a television show in 7 days, because they have one per week, right? So they have 7 days to shoot one. We shoot our episodes in 9 days, which is amazing when you consider this is not a professional production company. These are not seasoned professionals. This is not a studio with a lighting grid and soundproofing and all the equipment you could possibly want. These people have other jobs and they fly in and spend 9 days. Now, having said that, the episode you just watched, it was originally scheduled to shoot for 9 days. And I had to go away in the middle of the shoot for a convention appearance. So I went away for a weekend, and they scheduled scenes that Kirk wasn't in to shoot while I was gone. And when I came back, I found out that they had given everybody a day off. I was like, are you crazy? How are we going to finish? Well, everybody needed a little break. So that takes us down to 8 days, right? And the last day, we finished halfway through the day, which means we shot this episode in 7.5 days. We've got a great bunch of people who know what they're doing, and we have the best time. That's the best part about it, is that we have a great time together.